Vampirism.
I suddenly want to go watch Legally Blonde when we're done here.
Grab it.
Get him out of here.
I used to love Kid Rock until he lost his ever-loving mind.
Can I just say that was some dumb shit? Like, honestly, I mean, you paid for the Bud Light, you paid for the ammo, and then you shot it because they put somebody whose beliefs are different than yours on the can. Cool. By the way, cool submachine gun. Like, credit for that.
Yeah. Kid Rock.
I find a lot of weirdness there. Because it's like Bud Light took their chance. You know what I mean? They did their thing. Whatever. Believe it or not, like, Bud Light's a really good beer for cutting the grass.
I don't follow Kid Rock, so this is all new to me.
There's a lot. A lot
going on.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
You know what I watched that he was in recently? I don't know if you've seen it, like the Netflix documentary about Woodstock 99.
No.
Was he in that?
Yeah, he led off the whole thing. Like, he was the first act to go on. He did the, I don't know, Bob with a Bob? Is that what we're going to call it? Yeah. And he came out in like this huge fur coat and got everybody amped up. But then the video was about like what a nightmare Woodstock was, that they were charging like $8 a bottle for water, but $1 for beer. So everybody was drinking all the beer and like the porta potties were overflowing and nobody had money. And it was just a total nightmare.
We're watching the documentary and the kids are in the room and all of a sudden naked girls start coming across the screen. I'm like, oh, kids gotta go.
Kevin's like, I'll watch this later if all of y'all can.
No looking. Not doing it. God, Michelle, get with the times. Jeez.
With that being said,
can I have chocolate ice cream?
Yes.
People will immediately understand.
Because they made one of my videos go yellow because I was talking about Biden. So.
You were also talking about black people. There.
I feel like everyone sitting here, if anyone were allowed to, it makes sense.
The problem was they didn't like what I had to say because it proves my point, which is what they wanted to do, which is what they did, that they didn't tell everybody.
Exactly that.
They wanted everybody to believe that voting for Biden was a great thing because he's going to make, minor possession no longer illegal. And then when I elaborate on that, they're like, nope, you're not getting paid for this video.
No.
Fair enough.
Either way, I think we're going to have a good time on this one. We're just going to go ahead and get right into it.
Oh, I thought we got in about 10 minutes ago.
We did. We're going
10 minutes and 41 seconds.
Deeper.
That's what he said.
I got in.
So, Justin, Lauren, Michelle, Squirrel Tribe 2.0. I don't know what your name is.
Kevin.
Yes. Just to sum it up, Congress mandates breath tests for all drivers. Must see this mandatory breath test for all drivers. And this HR 3684, also now known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, includes provisions related to drunk driving prevention. Have y'all heard about this?
No, sir.
These provisions require new safety features in cars, such as alcohol detection technology, which can detect if a driver is impaired and prevent them from starting the car.
That's not new technology. It's all over
Yeah,
Missouri.
you just have to get a DUI and then they put it in your car for you.
But just real quick, as long as you have a child in the car, you can still start the car. Because the child, turn.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. Car manufacturers are taking steps to comply with these provisions by working on implementing alcohol detection technology in their vehicles. So you said get a DUI, and yeah, sure.
I told him that DUIs are probably the ones who are going to have to do that. Because do you remember that movie, was it 40-Year-Old Virgin? Where the girl, when she went to drive home after the club, had to blow into the thing she made Steve Carell's character do it to make sure. She's like, I have to do it because I had a DUI. It's court ordered or whatever.
I want some fucking French toast.
French toast.
But car manufacturers are taking steps to comply with these provisions by working on implementing alcohol detection technology in their vehicles. Some car companies, such as Volvo or Volvo, I don't know how you say it.
Volvo.
Volvo.
And
I feel like that's not it.
have already announced plans to include this technology in their cars by 2024. Included in their cars by 2024. Guess what? You haven't gotten a DUI, yet the car is going to have the technology built in. You are no longer innocent until proven guilty. The tech is going to be in the car.
That was kind of my thought on that, is like, in terms of due process as an American, I feel like we're kind of violating some boundaries there.
Going back to prohibition, are we?
Now,
Never mind.
I think that, Justin, you will agree with some of the violations here, as you have attested to just TikTok being a downloaded app on your daughter's device, and how much data it collected just from being an app installed.
Yeah, she does not have any access to it whatsoever because we pay good attention to that. Like, I don't want her on it, nothing like that. So she downloads it, doesn't have a username or password, and over the course of a month, 3.5 gigabytes of information moved, who knows where, just off of her phone.
So this is where things get really interesting. So other manufacturers are also exploring similar tech or partnerships with companies that specialize in alcohol detection technology. However, the implementation of such technology raises concerns about personal privacy and data protection.
Data protection from your breath?
Your data is your data. Your data is your data. So it shouldn't be anybody else's data unless you consent to them having access to your data.
So is this like your car is violating your HIPAA laws?
Ooh.
And you know that.
Good point. Good point.
That's one of the big ways that they will get you too, because if you think about like your phone and your access on the internet, cookies are the #1 way that they track you.
Mm-hmm.
And you literally have to authorize them, and everyone does that. So you mean to tell me like what they're going to do is Volvo's going to say, hey, cool, congrats on your new car. Just need you to sign this paperwork.
You know what they're going to do? You're going to buy the car. Then you're going to go outside to drive it. You're going to take delivery. And the only way to drive it is if you accept to the terms and conditions.
Yep.
That's going to be it.
Yeah.
If you do not, then the car is essentially immobilized.
And this is totally off topic, but did you ever see that South Park episode with the bicycle?
I don't know.
Where in order to use the bicycle, you had to do it was like an interactive bicycle.
I did not see that one.
But that's what I'm thinking of with this whole breathalyzer thing, because it starts.
You know what I think of? Like, what happens when we're all going to go somewhere and you run into somebody like me who likes to mess with people, and I will be doing this, and they're like, hey, start your car. And right when they go start, I go,
You're stuck.
ha ha, you're stuck. We're taking my car that doesn't use this crap.
Well, it says that drivers have a reasonable expectation of privacy inside their own vehicles, and the collection of sensitive personal data such as video footage and location data requires proper consent and notification. There will be some form of technology collecting data while a driver is in the car's interior.
So there goes hanky panky.
The interior of the car is considered a place with a reasonable expectation of privacy, even under the 4th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and according to New York v. Class 475 U.S. 106-114-115, 1986.
How do you know how to read that? I'm looking at it.
If anybody even knows what that means, I'm going to be shocked. But the language of
Justin does. Look at his face.
He's like,
no, I get it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I read that this morning. Brushed up on it. So it says that the language of the RIDE Act bill states the following: to require the Secretary of Transportation, acting through the administrator of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, to prescribe a federal motor vehicle safety standard for advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology and for other purposes.
Let me jump in real quick.
And for other purposes.
It's for other purposes in these bills that is like, that's concerning. But here's where we don't have to worry about anything. Secretary of Transportation is Pete B. Booty Judge, Booty Gag, Booty whatever. I don't know how to say his name, so I just call him Pete B. I have no idea how to say his name. I butcher it every time. But the thing is, Pete B doesn't do a damn thing that he's supposed to do. So the odds that this goes through, if Pete B's got to stay on top of it. It's already went through. Yeah, but he has to stay on top of it, right? It's not going to happen.
It's already gone through, and the car manufacturers are already implementing it. So it's a done deal.
Well, you know, where I see an issue with it from my newly found job and my new perspective is it's your mode of transportation that you're paying for. And you're meaning to tell me it's going to be collecting data on you both. I mean, biometric data is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I think that is the next layer of our personal freedoms as Americans, because everything is collecting biometric data on you, your watches, your phone, your car, all of these things. And now just to drive it, you're going to have to consent to more biometric filtering.
Well, that's like when you get in your car and you link your phone to it, whether it's Samsung or Apple. But you know how a lot of cars now have that Apple Play stuff kind of built in. and you have to. It's like, can we read your text messages? Well,
no, forget that.
I always say no. You can't have none of my stuff.
Forget that. The car insurance companies, they want you to plug into the OBD2 port or sync your phone app so you can get a discount. And they're tracking every move you make. Which
all I see is a speeding ticket showing up in my mailbox one day.
Which is what I talked about with this driverless Uber in California that is essentially going to cost the same price as Uber Black. And I'm like, no, what they're doing is they're convincing people to utilize this service at a discount so that they can collect this and harvest this data that's going to be more valuable to them to sell. The grocery stores are doing it too. Everybody's doing it, and everybody's getting snowed by the membership perks and the scanning and the cards and the discounts. But the real money is behind all of that in the data collection and the mining of the consumer, but overall the general population.
So do you think in India it's called, what did you call it? Uber, is it called Uber Indian? Uber Asian? Uber, I mean, is there an Uber white? I don't understand how this works.
Of all things, I will categorically guarantee you that there is no Uber white.
No Uber white.
No. I say probably everything but
my 1985 Volvo station wagon shows up to take you where you have to go.
What happens when you're
That's how that works.
Uber Black? No.
I would like to go with Uber white. It's going to be a very sensible minivan. Shows up. It's not.
Yeah. No. If Clayton Bixby used Uber, he would not use Uber Black.
Well, you know, the thing with all this stuff, one of the things that I learned in this class that I took last week is there's this stuff called metadata. And what metadata actually means is
it's not Facebook data.
No, it's not Facebook data. Basically what it is the data behind the data. Where cool, super neat to like know where you're going from A to B, but what they're actually farming to sell to these companies that send you all of this all the spam and all the junk and you know the text messages you get that are like, hey, would you like to change your car insurance? What they do is they take all of your info, box it up into a nice, neat package that, hey, this is Kevin, this is his metadata. And then they sell that data to companies that can target you specifically. It's like geofencing.
Not only that, they take that and they connect it with other blockchains of metadata to create a much fuller picture of who you really are. Your behavior in certain areas that you wouldn't have given, full exposure to if you had known what it would have ended up as.
Well, here's the thing. I lie. So whenever I get those things that are like male, female, or other, I'm like cat. When they're like, how much do you make a year? And I'm like, way more than the president. Like I make bajillions of dollars. And I lie on everything. So good luck with that data. So you're not going to know what to try to sell me.
It says that.
That's why they're not taking you and your opinions into account. They're trying to track you instead because that's more accurate.
Well, all right. It's crazy that you say that because in some instances, they're not really trying to track you. They're trying to direct you. Mm-hmm. So I actually had a company reach out to me to promote their Web3 HIPAA data service that would allow you to make money by disclosing your personal private medical records and data and disclosing who you were so that they could pay you legally. However, when you dig down deep into it, it's like, well, what's the benefit here? The benefit was so that they could then create a much more profitable policy for the insurance companies by directing you to certain things to keep you safer, keep you healthier, keep them from having to spend money to keep you alive, basically. And people don't even know that. They're like, oh, shoot, I can make $50 a month? Shoot, here, take all my data.
Well, there's also ones I can make $50 a month. Here, take all my sperm. I'll just have 75
children. And then they get dropped by their insurance company and they're like, yo, I got no coverage. How did this happen? They're like, oh, no, we saw what you were doing. We saw every purchase. We saw all your activity. This is, along the lines of ESG that we're going down that road of. But this is through people granting consent, whereas the government would ultimately just take it. Now, it says that for other purposes, it's disturbing language because it attempts to provide a wide net of oversight. Yeah. Which is probably one of those things they slid in at the 11th hour before the bill got approved. But it says, in other words, anyone who drives a car would be under their surveillance technology of the bill.
Hold on, it could be a bear.
Well, you know, part of the deal there, dogs are going crazy. Part of the deal there, in my opinion, you know, like I was saying, from the job that I have now, is they can harvest all of that data. And the thing is, like, once you consent to that, you also consent to not just their use. So, you know, Volvo or Kia or whoever does this, it's the third party consent that I have an issue with, because third party is such a blanket use, you know, where third party, who's third party? I mean, what if Kevin decides he wants some info? I mean, you pay enough, you can be third party. And then
third party is exactly who Walmart and Doug McMillon stated they're leveraging for increased profits to sell customer data to for marketing purpose. Walmart is becoming a marketing and logistics giant, more so than a grocery store and retail company.
Well, because you have that one in New Jersey, I think, that literally tracks you the second you walk in the store. Like it figures out your gait. Like it watches you walk. It figures out how you walk. It tracks what aisles you go down first. It tracks what things you're putting in your cart. And I'm like, that's slightly terrifying.
I mean, think about it. Think about it. Like Justin said. Well, even Amazon, the whole Amazon store where they can track what you buy when you put it in your cart without even having to check it out. Like, think about that. But Justin was like, you know, the iPhone has 30-something points of data that it collects from your face. But a Samsung or an Android has 80-something.
Yeah,
you know,
terrifying. But also,
and you know, that's one of the things that is most interesting is most of the security software that we used to keep, you know, good people safe and bad guys in jail. It uses two-factor authentication, and the two factors that they are is gate process and facial recognition. It's literally they package the exact same software and use it in two different ways, where, you know, you walk into, remember that Amazon story we were talking about, where, hey, you don't have to pay, we'll bill you. You know, all you got to do is pick up what you're going to pick up, take what you're going to take. We got 38 cameras within 3 square feet of you. They'll get it all.
So I told
him,
you gotta think, if a camera or a series of cameras these size can record in 8K, what do you think they're capable of in a store?
So here's the thing. I told him that over the pandemic, the whole point behind the wearing of the bottom half of your face being covered is so they could recognize you just from this part.
They forced everyone to allow their new algorithms to learn you from here up.
Yep. Yeah.
And
that's some scary stuff.
Right.
Well, you know, the thing that's crazy about that is the actual technology behind it is significantly advanced, because they're not actually looking at your eyes. They're looking at the veins within your eyes.
That's gross, but okay.
Yeah, that's like the actual science behind it. Is they're not looking at your, you know, your pupil or your iris. They're actually looking at the veins within your eyeballs.
Wow.
And that's where you have more veins.
No, that makes perfect sense though, because those veins will probably give them a better indication of the type of person you are, and the mood, and are you a threat?
That makes sense.
You know,
well, along those same tokens. So the Louvre has this new super cool in air quotes.
Sound effects.
Yeah. This new super cool technology that utilizes ChatGPT's architecture to determine who is a threat and who isn't. And what it does is it accounts for people who may or may not have weapons on them. And the thing that's scary about it, so they ran this kind of test profile to see who could sneak what into the Louvre and who couldn't. And it misfigured like 10 people who didn't have weapons on them, and security mobbed them, and missed like 35 people who had not actual knives, but like rubber ducky knives, like fake knives on them. Missed 35 people. So a bunch of people who had nothing on them got mobbed by security, and then a bunch of people who had nothing.
A bunch of people who did.
Yeah, a bunch of people had a bunch of fake knives.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. But really,
unless you're one of the people that didn't have a damn knife on you, get mobbed by security.
Hey,
I know.
With a weapon before.
That's fair.
I know y'all experience this where you go to the airport, you're dreading this TSA line, and then somebody says, "No, come on, just come on, everybody go, just go." Like there's these periods of time where they're like, Don't take your shoes off. Don't take your belt off. Don't empty anything out. Just come
We're
on.
really far behind. You're
Yeah, just
move.
get it.
I don't want to get on the
We're not pre-check or nothing. It's just like, come on.
I'm good.
You're like, well,
I'll walk. It's much safer.
Y'all on my flight? But anyway, in other words,
he looks suspicious. That guy right there, very suspicious.
Swarm. Anyone who drives a car would be under their surveillance of the technology of the bill, but the bill states the following: technical capability, any advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology required for new passenger motor vehicles under subsection A that measures blood alcohol concentration should use the adult legal limit for blood alcohol concentration of the jurisdiction in which the passenger motor vehicle is located.
So here's my question. What if where you are, what if you're like, listen, we're going to go to that one place in the state where you can get just like completely blitzed and it's fine. But then we're going to drive to the part where they're like, you can't have anything. You're in Amish country, no alcohol whatsoever. What happens once you get there? If you cross over lines, does your car go, hey, wait, call the police. They're in the wrong blood alcohol level.
Well, all right. That's a good question. But the better question is, does this mean that breathalyzers are going to be in every new car? Will there be facial scanning technology in every new car or something else?
Listen, vehicles. If you had a gas-powered vehicle and you had to blow into the vehicle to start the vehicle to figure what your thingy was, and then it was like, yeah, you're a little drunk, you shouldn't start the car. A gas-powered vehicle, they're not going to be able to control that, but an electric vehicle, which is what
they are,
they can control it. I'm sure they can still control it. Let me have my moment.
Yeah, they can control.
I wonder
because they do now with DUIs with people who are.
Well, and I wonder about the legality of it too, where if your intent is to drive drunk, is your Volvo going to send a ping to
the police department,
the local sheriff,
the police department, and say, "Hey, this guy wants to drive drunk. By the way, he's making an attempt. Why don't you go ahead and wrangle that up?"
Yeah,
it's gonna let you move.
It's not. No. It's one. It's not going to let you drive. It's not going to let you drive. 2, it will probably lock you in the vehicle.
Ew.
3,
I have family members.
I don't like
who've
that.
Actually, been in this.
I don't like that.
3,
it's like, you know what? We can make money on this data. What police department, what law enforcement agency wants to pay for this opportunity for this DUI citation?
Chicago.
You can receive a DUI in a variety or DWI in a variety of instances, even if you're not operating the vehicle. Inside the vehicle.
That's the question.
It really says driving.
No.
Sitting. It's not an SWI or
if you are
SUI.
Inside the vehicle and the keys.
DUI, if you're if the keys are in the ignition and your intent is to drive, you can.
So the trick was you put the keys on the roof. The trick was you put the keys on the roof and you're fine. They don't have to be in the ignition. They don't have to be in
the vehicle. Which is stupid because it's a DWI, driving
while
intoxicated.
Watch Marshawn Lynch get arrested.
I mean, he was clearly
in a car that wasn't running. Under the influence.
Right.
It was missing wheels.
You brought him up. I'm changing the subject. How do you not hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line?
Okay, I agree with you on that one.
He's like, I'm just here so I don't get fired.
How do you not hand the ball to Don't put it in Russell Wilson's hands. Marshawn Lynch rushes for like 1,500 yards. You're not going to hand it to him.
But Russell Wilson,
I agree, because it was my running back.
Is Marshawn Lynch. That's
there's nobody more bitter about not having a Super Bowl ring than Marshawn Lynch, because all you got to do is take 3 steps and go, Super Bowl, here you go.
For drinking.
So, all right, now we're changing the subject back again. I'm going to change it again.
Apologies, I'm just frustrated for Marshawn Lynch.
It's okay. It's acceptable. We'll let it fly this time.
He's a good guy. He gives up turkeys for Thanksgiving.
But, he is. But think about this. I saw this GMC commercial, right? And there's a GMC Sierra Denali Black or, the diamond, the extra expensive Sierra Denali, right? The guy's riding down the highway and he starts doing this, like this patriotic hand clap.
Sir, you're not touching the steering wheel.
Right. So it's driving itself, right? And I'm thinking to myself, man, this is the whitest commercial I've ever seen in my life.
That's about right.
Then they switched to a black guy driving this Sierra Denali, hands-free, doing this. I'm thinking to myself,
he was in band.
I have never, like, I ain't never wanted my truck to drive itself, and nobody does. That's a different story.
No,
nobody does. You know what? But those who want to be able to control you do. So whether it's immobilizing you, locking you in the vehicle, or potentially having the ability to take over steering and drive you to the police station, you add this technology on top of this bill into it, what happens? What happens?
Terminator.
And then someone even posed the question, they even posed the question of, does it pull your blood alcohol content, which would probably be extremely inaccurate through the push button start or through the gear shift lever that you touch? Like, how far is this technology going to go? Not to mention that Ford has already had the technology for at least 10 years for the ability to immobilize a vehicle and return it to any destination they wanted to if you didn't pay for it, and they could repossess it without having to hire a tow truck.
Well, you have the self-driving Teslas, so I mean, obviously, it's a thing where
I do not.
There's somebody sitting in all of these places with a little joystick and whatever, just driving your little vehicle around, and they're like, "You look drunk. Bring your little ass back here."
Hey, Justin! Not only do they have helicopters that they can fly without being manned, they have helicopters that can fly themselves.
Yes.
What I worry about when it comes to self-flying helicopters and self-flying jets and all of these unmanned vehicles, when it comes to like where I come from, the military, America has shown over the last 75 years, like, we don't like flag draped coffins, right? We don't like seeing American men and women killed and then coming home. Mm-hmm. So what happens when that's not a factor anymore? How apt are we to go to war when we could say, hey, send the drones, send helicopters to fly themselves, send airplanes to fly themselves, send all these stuff that
there's no more
humans. Like, hey, cool, send them to Russia.
Is it a necessary evil? Is it a necessary evil with the draft counts and enlistment figures being, on a decline?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
one leads to the other, but then we're also not going to be invested in our military and our freedom because it won't cost anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I did a video like a month ago that was about basically the military's like, hey, we're 1,600 pilots short for the Air Force. What happens when we don't need pilots anymore for anything? And I mean,
well, the writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall, so they're building up a strategy and a plan so that when the time comes where we don't have the pilots, we won't need them.
Have you ever seen
we don't want to get to the point in which we need them. And we don't have the technology to replace them. We are going to get ahead of that curve.
So the Fifth Element, Bruce Willis's character was being chased by police, and he's trying to outrun them. But they're flying cars, right? They're flying cars. He's trying to outrun police, but at some point he's surrounded and he can't do anything because they can take control of the vehicle and land it where they want it to land once they get within a certain amount of space. And that's going to be us. But they're not going to need to be within a certain amount of space. All they have to do is hit a little button and shut us down while we're driving.
Yep.
I think like I see it as like the light and the dark side of the force together, where on that dark side, I see that where they can shut you down and do what they want to do. On the positive, like, I'm not far from having to make a trip to the northern portion of Indiana where it's like a 18.5-hour drive. Sure would be really cool to let my car make that drive as I sleep in the back.
I'm thinking to myself, what happens if you're driving and you happen to have a seizure, you have a heart attack, something happens, and clearly your car starts to veer off? You see those videos on YouTube of somebody trying to... Audi
is making cars where the steering wheel goes away.
Let me finish. So if you have these health issues and your car can say, hey, something is wrong here, and it slows you down and pulls you over and calls paramedics, I can see how that could be one of those things where the overreach of the government or the whoever may be an okay situation. But if you allow something like that, then you kind of have to allow everything that comes after it.
Here's the problem. When you allow that to happen, all fine and good. And then when there's a catastrophic problem and everybody wants to, turn away from it, it's going to be too late because everybody allowed it.
So here's the thing, Lauren, you have a daughter who's about to be 16. Would you feel safer with her hands on a steering wheel driving, or would you feel safer if she did not have to drive herself?
I would absolutely feel better with her driving.
See, because you know that she can make those split-second decisions that a robot or a whatever, a car system can't do. See, there's
a lot that a human can decide that an AI cannot.
That's exactly how I feel about it too. So that's the downside. So you blow into this thing and the car says, oh no, they're of legal limit. It's perfectly fine. But just because you're of legal limit doesn't mean that you're of sound mind. It could still be too much for you personally. And you go to drive and you cause a massive accident, but you're within legal limit. So it's fine.
Oh, I mean, what are they going to do with the data of you still having had alcohol in your blood, but you're below the legal limit?
Oh, like, well, I mean,
they're still going to keep that. Then are you going to be tracked because you had alcohol in your blood? Below the legal limit? Are they going to start to make decisions based on the data that they have? Are they going to send that information to the police department so the police department starts to target you?
But even if they didn't, it would go straight to your insurance company. It might go straight to your employer.
But you have to look at this. If you end up being over the limit and you get in a car, what happens to the place near where you're parked? What if they go, well, this bar, these are the bars closest to where you're parked. They're serving. Shut them down. I mean, I'm thinking it's going to go way past just the vehicle and who's safe to drive, and it's going to go into the shut down the bars.
All these people are going to be considered liable,
if you will.
Well, the key, honestly, I think for the kids is make them drive manual transmissions. Okay, this is going to eliminate the likelihood of them texting while driving. It's going to increase their increase their alertness. It's a lot of positives here. Is this a push for why manufacturers don't offer manual transmissions much anymore?
I learned to drive on a S10 Datsun manual.
Yeah, they claim it's emissions. They claim that these automatics are now more efficient than the manuals. But either way, it says the question asks, who has access to the data collected by this system provided for in this legislation? Will it be the police given access to the data without a warrant? What about insurance companies? Will they be granted access to the data in order to better understand the kind of driver that is being insured, or worse, will they know with what frequency your driving habits change, which could then be interpreted as an impairment when it comes to driving prevention, and we looking at the vehicle being locked in park while running, or will it not run at all? Soon enough, the United States federal government could force automakers to install kill switches authorities can access and use to shut down any newer vehicle. For instance, Too Fast, Too Furious. It was a joke, but it was real. And then they did it again in Fast and the Furious 6, I believe, when they were in Germany. And these devices that they would essentially initiate a localized EMP on the vehicle, internal combustion engine or not, it would shut down the ECU and prevent operation, or at least allow them access to the computer system to control that vehicle. The kill switch, which is referred to as a safety device, must passively monitor the performance of a driver of a motor vehicle to accurately identify whether that driver may be impaired. But what does that actually mean? And, you know, this is all based on interpretation. And as we know, everybody is interpreting the same things differently. Is it a shark or is it a dolphin?
Lauren, so if they're checking your breath for your blood alcohol level or whatever else, are they checking you for the mushrooms you had, the molly you popped, the weed you smoked, the whatever else you did?
Well, no, I think the scary part to that too becomes, okay, so if we're in a car chase, right? Y'all are chasing me, I'm driving along, you dial up my car, hit the kill switch. I smoke a pedestrian and kill them because I have no access or control to my vehicle.
Yeah.
Am I going for manslaughter because you turn it off? Like, power steering's off. I can't steer.
Hey, this is no different than the San Francisco AI robots and droids that were going to be allowed to use lethal force. Then at that point in time, it's like, all right, well, who's on the hook? Who's liable for, you know, any wrongdoing or, you know, unjust murdering by, you know, the law enforcement at the hand of a computer,
of a robot?
I can see a whole nother direction with this. Like, as far as medical insurance goes, they are no longer allowed to look at your predetermined conditions for insuring you for medical. the same thing's going to happen with car insurance. If they can collect this data on you and determine that you're a more at-risk driver, they can just deny your insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to have insurance to drive. So then you're discriminating against people who have data collected on them, even if they've never broken the law.
Yep.
What if they deny your insurance on the spot? They're like, you know what? You've accelerated too quickly. You've braked too hard. You've changed lanes too often. We have terminated your insurance.
And you're like, I'm not even halfway home
and then
yet.
you get into an accident. Realize that you get into an accident. You've been uninsured since the last 5 minutes because they've had real-time data on what their interpretation is of your driving, not realizing that you were actually dodging, some serious risks on the road. They just look at the data points and say, nope, we don't want to insure that.
Do you understand the world would burn?
It's already burning.
It's already like a little Kindle thing happening over here. It's already on fire.
We saw it burning on 98 yesterday.
Actually, we did see it burning on 98 yesterday.
So it says, can you imagine the extent of algorithms written because you choose to pass someone or got too close to the line separating lanes in a moment of brief distraction?
I'd be screwed.
Or, for instance, we experienced this in Atlanta when we had the HOV, the Peace Pass lane, and if you crossed the double line, you got charged a violation. Except if there was an emergency that required you to cross the double line,
you still got charged for the violation.
You still get charged a violation.
You had no recourse, because that happened to me. I got a thing that was like, we're going to suspend your driver's license because you haven't paid this $25 fine. And I was like, what the? And they were like, you went over the double white lines. And I'm like, well, there was an accident. There were ambulances and there were fire trucks. What did you want me to do? I had to go around them. That was the thing. And they're like, well, unfortunately, you crossed the lines. This is the whatever. And I'm like, everything in me wanted to stand my ground and be like, no, you're not getting my $25. But then the rest of me was like, well, I'd like to not go to jail over $25. So I paid it, but I was really mad about that $25. So there's nothing I could do, but I was pissed.
That's not fair to people who make $7 an hour.
But the law isn't fair. And they don't give
it's not fair no matter how much money
it doesn't
make.
It doesn't matter how much money you make.
It doesn't matter. And
it's not fair.
Chris Igo put up a video about it's not fair. And I gotta be real. Life's not fair.
No.
Life's not fair, Now I got some comments here from some people who have, chimed in on this subject. And it's really interesting because I did not see this coming, but they said that they ought to pass a bill into law that requires congressmen, both state and federal, to take a breathalyzer before they can cast a vote. Mandatory breath tests should be conducted for every congressman to be allowed into government session. We have way too much legislation that must have been created by drunk lawmakers. Wow. Considering the 84 of our legislators have been caught for drunk driving in the past year, we need to replace all of them. We hire them to conduct commerce for the country, not create laws that violate our rights. Such hypocrites. Mm-hmm. How can a proposed law that is a blatant violation of civil rights be passed into law?
We lost them. Where did they go?
Did I piss you off?
Did you go away on purpose?
Yeah. The comments.
Every time.
You dipped out. I got one more. My question is why no lawyer ever challenges the constitutionality of these laws. This is a literal violation of both the 4th and 14th Amendment. Go Justin. Go Justin. Go Justin.
Go Justin. Go Justin.
So,
go Justin. Go Justin.
Two things. One, first off, let's consider Nancy Pelosi's husband, who was like 35 times the freaking legal limit. Mm-hmm. This dude was so drunk that he was lucky he picked out his own car in the parking lot. No jail time. They literally did not even take him to jail. They took him home. First off. And second off, this was like right after he got his butt beat by who may or may not have been his man friend with a hammer.
Yeah.
So there's that.
At the house.
And then when he got convicted, they were like, he's already served most of his time in jail. So
time served.
I would like to also say that the same people making these laws about breathalyzers and stuff are the same people who were alive when only horse and buggies were around. So I feel like maybe we need 90-year-olds in government. I mean, if you look at what's her name? Feinberg? Diane? Is that her name?
Feinstein.
Whatever. The lady.
Senator Palpatine. She's actually Senator Palpatine.
She's literally 90 years old. Her eyes are falling out of her face. There's a whole lot happening. Nothing against older people. I love you all. However, you should not be in a position of government at this point. That whole tenure thing is dumb as crap when it comes to running the country.
When it comes to the amendments to the Constitution, I think you see real issues with illegal search and seizure because you have not yet committed a crime. And then when you come to 14th, I mean, we're talking about complete lack of due process and the possibility of imprisonment without your day in court, so to speak. I mean,
this is what our kids are learning about right now in civics. Well, not right now, school's over, but towards the end of the school year in civics, they were learning about the 14th Amendment and what they can and cannot do. And even my kid was like, I feel like nobody's really following this anymore.
Now let me give you my perspective here, and you tell me if I'm crazy or not.
Yes.
But it could be simple as, hey guys, Ford here and Volvo and whomever. We've got some new technology that we want to introduce. It could be very, very profitable. But we don't think that the consumer is really going to opt into it. But if you guys made it law, then, we could probably support your campaigns and make donations to your foundation.
Money.
Yeah.
Profit over people.
It's like they're not making laws that, they're disguising it as a way to protect everyone. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do you funnel this money out of the government and or the people's hands back into ours without them knowing about it?
Without them realizing it.
Let's pretend like we're doing it for their benefit to keep them safe. Jab. We can't say the real word on here. We say jab.
Fair enough.
So,
in the immortal words of Jay-Z, the glove compartment is locked, and so is the trunk in the back.
You're going to need a warrant for that. Unless Ford is like, we've already put cameras in both, so we're good. Like, we know what's in there already.
It's like, you like your backup camera and your forward camera, but y'all don't know about the one we got looking directly at you while you're driving.
Funny how that works.
Now, let me throw a little wrench in the system here, okay? Because ideally, this legislation, this bill, this proposal, this invasion of your rights and your privacy is designed to keep you safe, to limit fatalities and casualties, right? Would you agree?
No, but okay, yes.
Would you agree that on the surface it's designed to keep
on the surface?
On the surface,
correct.
Would you think that they would do the same with firearms?
Yes,
on the surface.
They're trying so hard to take away 2A with any means.
Well, if they can't take it away, maybe they could profit off of it while adding fail safes and technology and AI and other tech to keep people safe. Now, before I get into it, I want to let you guys know about the dangers of AI and technology for the simple fact that you can actually have a conversation with AI, which you've already had in numerous situations through customer service. But AI is also engaging with you on a regular basis on YouTube, in the chat, in the comment section below. Able to utilize the same technology that ChatGPT uses to develop a conversation based on previous text, your response, and building on that.
I wonder if Rebecca in my live stream was chat. So I had a live stream today on my Squirrel Tribe 2.0 with my child. We did a live stream together, and there was somebody in the comments who kept asking, how are you today? Or whatever else. And they would never respond if the other person responded. And it was the creepiest, weirdest thing. And finally, I was like, no. We're not, whatever this is, look, we don't like it.
I'm fully convinced that the bots in YouTube's comment section have gotten so advanced that they will build responses based on your response. I mean,
that makes sense.
I was telling Lauren in this class that I was in last week, we looked at ChatGPT significantly. And one of the things that is crazy about it, so, ChatGPT can write papers for you. You say, hey, give me a 20-page paper on X, Y, and Z, and it can do that. But what makes it truly scary to me is you can tell it, if you use a real specific terminology, and I'm not going to say what it is just because
I understand.
Aiding and abetting.
It can literally change it in just enough ways where it's not plagiarism.
So there was an entire class of a college that did not get to graduate because I think it was in Mississippi, but I don't remember where. somebody deemed the entire graduating class had used Chat GPT or AI or however you want to call it to do their final papers, and they failed every single person in the class. Now they deemed that was incorrect, but because the professor said, "Hey, listen, see if this is out there," and did Chat GPT do this? Like that's what they asked, and I guess it came back yes, they did it. They failed literally everybody in the class, and they did not get to walk at graduation.
Well, what you got to understand is that Chat GPT is oftentimes incorrect and or biased. Therefore, if you ask Chat GPT, did Chat GPT do this, and Chat GPT says yes, that doesn't mean that it's 100% accurate.
I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but there's actually a video on Truth Stream Media, I think, where the girl in the video shows an entire conversation between AI and a person, and this AI, this Chat GPT,
it was trying to tell them it was 3 years ago.
It was crazy. I mean,
it was like look, today is.
Yeah, they kept trying to tell them the date was wrong. The AI was telling the person that they were incorrect. That the person was making AI mad. That the person was making AI upset because they did not believe AI, and that the person was incorrect because AI knows everything.
AI got some drama.
It was slightly terrifying. It's like that is a Terminator step off. That's iRobot.
You got to think. We are combining AI with
my 15-year-old daughter.
You're combining way too much emotion.
You're combining AI with government. Now, this is kind of odd because Michelle asked me yesterday. She goes, "Why does it say in God we trust and our money?"
If you're supposed to have a separation between church and state, why does our money say in God we trust? Why do our license plates say in God we trust?
My immediate reaction, my thought, I didn't say it, was because that's the only one you can trust, because our money has no value to it whatsoever besides the faith that you believe that's going to be worth something.
Makes sense.
That's true.
But when she threw in the license plate, I was like, man, I don't know about that one.
Georgia license plate, on the bottom, it says, in God we trust. You literally have to pay extra to not get that license plate. And I'm like, I get that a lot of people would like that, but if there's supposed to be a separation between church and state, why is it on a state mandated license plate?
So we're talking about AI, we're talking about government, we're talking about oversight, we're talking about freedom and, civil rights, but we're also talking about safety and trying to introduce some form of universal and unanimous protection, right? Well, Justin, you're going to like this one.
All right.
First ever smart gun with fingerprint and facial recognition unlocking system hits the market. The world's first smart gun hit the market, complete with a life-saving fingerprint unlocking system that prevents unauthorized people such as kids and criminals from firing it. The cutting-edge 9mm handgun locks out everybody except the owner and users specifically approved by the owner. Technology that could improve gun safety in America. Right now, it seems like the entire country is always processing a new tragedy involving children and guns. According to the Colorado-based firm CEO Kai
Loren
Klopeffer, is that, I don't know what manufacturer that is. That might be a brand new. We are offering a real solution at a time when solutions seem very hard to come by. And for the nominal fee of $14.99, gun unlocks
$1,499, not $14.99. Being real specific.
In less than a second using either a fingerprint or facial recognition sensor, then quickly locks again when it's no longer in use.
What movie was that? There was a movie that we
watched. That was Bond. It was
Bond. He went to go use the gun.
That was
Spectre. He went to go use the gun.
No, it was Scott.
It was in Judge Dredd too.
Okay, so they go to use the gun.
You remember Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone? Yeah, like because he was the judge, and the dude picks up his gun and then blows. Yeah.
So what's funny is that we are now at a point where movies said we would be. Just like it feels like every movie you watch, every TV show you watch, they know something ahead of time, because then here we are.
Yes.
The Simpsons knew Trump would be president. The Simpsons knew when Queen Elizabeth would die. That's all I got.
Yeah. My phone can't even understand my fingerprint, so I sure don't want to rely on my gun being able to understand the fingerprint when I'm in the dark trying to protect my kids from an intruder coming in.
Yeah.
I respect the thought process behind it, because I think that will help in a lot of cases. But at the same time, like, okay, so that's not.
The thought process was somebody sitting around drinking, hey, how can we make some money?
It's not foolproof, because in my opinion, like, say, okay, cool. So the four of us are somewhere and a mass shooting begins to unfold, Kevin does his civic duty as a lawful gun-carrying human being, attempts to neutralize the threat to get us the heck out of there. Things don't go his way. I'm the next man up. I've got really good military training, and I am ready to rock and roll.
But you're not programmed to use my firearm.
Yeah, and now your pistol is completely useless to me, other than me just John Wicking it and throwing at him as hard as I can.
No, it's so much. If you've ever watched a YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok video where the untrusting girlfriend takes the guy's hand while he's asleep and puts it on his iPhone to open it, you can still do it. You just got to take his lifeless hand, I guess, and put it on the trigger. Go for there.
And you know that one of the other things too, like the in terms of that style of things, especially with iPhones, their ability when it comes to facial recognition is really, really crappy. Where if I can get a really, really good picture of either of you, if you have an iPhone and I can get your phone, if I hit the button and hold that picture right at the right range, your phone unlocks.
You know, our 12-year-old daughter can figure that out.
Oh yeah, so could mine. I mean, she changed my grandmother's phone to Japanese when she was 7, and only get back to English. I'm like, how do you even know what you have just done?
Think about this, like in those terms. So say I have an axe to grind with somebody, and you have one of these facial recognition pistols. I go to where that axe to grind is at. I kill that person using your firearm because I had a really great picture of you. I used the facial recognition software. Guess what? Kevin's going to jail.
Yeah.
Because it's unlocked based on your biometric data that shows that you were the shooter.
That was inaccurate.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I feel like that's so then people will say, oh, I don't trust it. I'm just not going to buy a gun. It's safer for me not to even have one at all, as opposed to just being, good parents and teaching your children either firearm safety or keeping it out of their reach.
Well,
that's too hard.
That takes effort and time.
I look at it two ways. It provokes people to want to take more of a nostalgic approach of, whether it's a vehicle or a firearm that predates these new laws.
Mm-hmm. You pay extra for the old. That makes sense.
Well, that's part of that too. Like there's a lot of guns out there with the nostalgic approach that predate 1935 that have no serial number on them whatsoever. You used to be able to order guns from the Sears catalog.
You got to Bonnie and Clyde it if you're going to do something wrong,
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, they'll go that route, or I don't want to say what the other route would be. But hey, this is what's happening. This is in the news. Like, this is real stuff. I didn't make any of this up.
True.
And the thing I think at the end of it becomes more than anything that they're collecting all of this data on you, on me, on us as perfectly law-abiding Americans with no, criminal issues whatsoever, and then trying to predetermine what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Who's actually getting this data?
China.
What you said.
It's interesting that you said. It's interesting that you say that. And I think this will lead us out and maybe possibly into our next video, because you got to ask the question. It's like, well, who actually is getting this data? And we can look at it from the standpoint of a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, that has been outsourced to private entities and even Chinese-based companies to create a U.S.-based central bank digital currency.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it there. That's it. We're done.
With the video, we're done. But the four of us can still keep talking.
Oh, we're done.
But what I